I have no clue what's going on with the Liberals right now. Like, obviously, I know they're not very good at this and they're not particularly smart, but I thought that they learned their lesson on immigration to stop talking about it. Put caps on student visas, try and slowly lower immigration a little bit here and there to pretend that they're responsive to Canadians, but overall, just stop talking about the issue because Canadians do not agree with the Liberals' mass immigration perspective. But Marc Miller here, our immigration minister, was recently on Ryan Jesperson's show in Alberta, and he's here to tell us that immigration is actually still super popular in Canada. Don't worry about all of the polls. Actually, everyone likes exactly what we've been doing over the past few years. Check this out.
60% of Canadians feel that too many immigrants are coming to Canada. So a majority of Canadians feel that way. You're on the record as saying that you believe that immigration could be a top or the top election issue. What would the ballot box question be? If immigration was the top election issue, what would the question be?
That's really good. I think if I knew the top election question and I was posing it to you, I'd either be stupid to tell you or lying. So,
You can tell how nervous Marc Miller is immediately because Ryan Jesperson is literally citing his own words saying that you thought it was going to be the top election issue. What do you think the ballot box question on immigration is? And he starts going like, well, if I knew that, I wouldn't tell anybody because, you got to keep things pretty close to the chest. You've been caught out, and that's the real thing that's going on here. And even the poll Ryan Jesperson is citing is probably the mildest one. 60% of people are against mass immigration, like a recent Ledger poll or something like that. I've seen other ones where it's 67%, 72% of people think that immigration is too high. And you also have to take this in. You also have to remember that this is including people who are undecided. And I guarantee you, the vast majority of people who are undecided just don't want to say it's too high because the liberal media is so hard on people who take issue with immigration being high that a lot of people are scared to be called racist, even though it has nothing to do with race at all. It just has to do with the amount of warm bodies coming into Canada in context to the amount of housing units we have available. We don't have enough houses. It's not xenophobia, it's math. That's what's going on here. But I'm going to throw it back to Marc Miller and see if he can try and turn this terrible answer around.
Every political guru goes around and says this is going to be the top political question. I think immigration generally, I think the levels and how we are doing a good job or not will probably be a matter of debate. I don't know if it'll be the top question. We are often surprised by issues. The 2015 election, we had the horrific visuals of Alien Kurdi washed up on European shores, and that was an important polarizing aspect of the election. We've had the evacuation of Kabul as a topic for the first 2 weeks of the last election. So
we had to stop doing this in Canada too, because what he's hinting at is that actually Canadians are going to be very open to more immigration because the evacuation of Kabul was just horrifying to watch. The Taliban are a force of evil, so we should just let everyone from Afghanistan into Canada because things are bad. That's what the Liberals did in 2015. There was that Syrian child whose body was on the some beach in Europe or whatever. He washed up on shore, had died, he drowned from trying to cross the sea with his father. And the Liberals dishonestly use that as a campaign image to say, if you don't support our mass immigration agenda, then you wanted this boy to die. No, that's insane. That's not how that works. And the vast majority of people who were crossing away from Syria were fighting age men. It was very dishonest the way that the sort of the fleeing from Syria took place. It was a lot of economic migrants taking advantage of the situation, leaving women, children, and girls at home, and then going to Europe. And that was one of the few children who was on the boats to crossing and had died tragically. And the Liberals then said, if you're not in favor, if you want this kid to die unless you want hundreds of thousands of people entering the country a year, 1.3 million, in fact, entered the country back in 2023. This is why people are fed up. And now he's trying to pretend like Kabul now gives the Liberals license to say, just let anyone in. It's tough over in Afghanistan. Just let people in Afghanistan in. Oh, goodness.
That's something that I could happen. You could always have surprises, but they become immigration themed. I do think this is an important topic. Canadians increasingly are focused on this issue. The sentiments in the polls that you see are often quite nuanced. Often Canadians,
What's nuanced about it? What's nuanced about 60% of people saying immigration's too high? What is nuanced about that? Yes, 60% of people aren't saying we want zero immigration, deport everybody, but like 500 select few people. Yeah, people aren't calling for that. But 60% of people wanting immigration to be lower is a very clear call to the government to lower immigration, put a cap on it. I think we could probably reduce it by 2/3, if not more, because we don't have enough houses for the people who are currently in the country, let alone the next 500,000 who the Liberals are probably going to have enter the country. Even the permanent residents, temporary foreign workers, students, it's all way too high. We have the lowest rate of people getting jobs after becoming unemployed within an economic quarter that we ever have had. The idea that, the immigrant, we need workers to come to Canada because these are jobs Canadians won't take for themselves. What are you talking about? Immigrants don't want these jobs either for minimum wage. The problem if you're in Canada is that a lot of these jobs are only offered to you for $15 an hour. But an immigrant who comes from another country and takes that job gets the 15 an hour, plus they get another $3.50 or whatever the amount is that the government then throws in to incentivize the company to hire them, that they pay the immigrant even more so that they can hire these people at minimum wage. They get a top up from the federal government. Anyone would work a job who's especially around like in their younger, like who's in university, would take a job for $18.50 an hour. The problem is Canadians don't want to work for 15. Immigrants don't want to work it for 15. They get paid more actually. Ugh, it's so obnoxious. This idea that no, it's a nuanced issue. It's not. It's just not. At some point, when an issue has gotten this bad, people aren't looking for just teasing around the corners of it. And actually, I'm in favor of mass immigration if we just fix these two things. No, people are just mad at the entire system for good reason.
when you dig into those numbers, to the extent the polls go into that level of granularity, are still very positive about immigration. They don't want it done in an uncontrolled way, and in a way that
Then stop doing it in an uncontrolled way, Marc.
doesn't make sense for the economy. No one's saying you do have racism in this country, but I wouldn't ascribe that to all the sentiment and some.
Not all of it. No, not all the 60% of people are racist, but there's definitely some racist people in there. If you're ever having an argument, not an argument, but just a discussion about immigration, and somebody seeks to imply that you're racist, just respond back, no, you're an idiot. If you think I'm racist for thinking that 1.3 million people entering the country cannot fit into 200,000 new homes, you're an idiot if you think I'm racist for thinking that there's a math problem there. Goodness.
Of the head scratching that you're seeing about the volumes that were coming in, those discussions that I have around the Christmas table with my relatives, those play themselves out on scale, and you have a range of differing views. And I think we have to be open enough as a country to have rational discussions about these things, and not fall into sort of political dogmatism.
Oh, I'll include the link to that tweet if you guys want to go check it out. Riley Donovan, an anti-immigration activist, not when I say anti-immigration, anti-mass immigration activist, put out that clip. You guys should go check it out. Obviously, it's from the Ryan Jesperson show, but he had highlighted this particularly terrible answer from Marc Miller. It's such a limp thing to say. You know, most Canadians are still positive about immigration. Well, of course, yeah, no, people aren't anti the concept of immigration. People are anti the way you guys are doing it. People would be fine if these days it probably should just be like 100,000 people at most. Temporary foreign workers, students, and permanent residents combined probably should be 100,000. We need it to be way lower because we need housing prices to fall. We need wages to go up. We need it to be, you can't import 4% of the country's population in a single year, 2% of the country's population in a single year, and just expect that everyone's going to start, acting like a Canadian. If people come in too fast with too many people from from an area of the country they used to be from, there's going to be a lot of people who have no incentive to go, to learn the culture, to hang out with people, learn the way that other Canadians do things. Yes, we don't have like a strong culture. It's not like if you come here, it's like going to Japan or going to Finland or going to China or going to Thailand, where there's a very strong local culture. Canadian culture tends to be a little bit more mild, but there are certain ways we act, there are certain ways we do things, and when you have way too many people come in from any country en masse, there's no incentive to ever integrate, because in your city there might be 100,000 people from the exact place that you came from. So why ever bother talking to anyone else from any other background? You can just hang out with people exactly like yourself who have the exact same home culture. That's a big problem, and that is something that the immigration system right now is playing into. We don't really have that idea that everyone comes in here and, you know, it's a culture mosaic and we all hang out. We actually don't really hang out as much these days, and it's because of the mass immigration system disincentivizing everybody to kind of like talk to each other and share cultures and whatnot. That your block has people from 17 different parts of the world on it, but you're all Canadian. Now it's like everyone on your blocks in certain parts of cities, everyone's from India, everyone's from a Central Asian country. That's not healthy. It's better that, you know, that guy's German, that guy's Indian, that guy's Italian, that guy's British, that guy's from Thailand, that guy's Chinese. That's better than just having parts of a city turn into basically just different ethnic sections. That's not healthy for a country like Canada to be split up that way. Anyways, going on a bit of a rant here. That should be it. Again, the link to that tweet's in the description below. If you guys want to donate to the legal fund, my Give, Send, Go link is also in the description below. Anything you can contribute really helps us out, fighting back against a Chinese billionaire suing us for defamation that in over 2.5 years he hasn't been able to provide a shred of evidence for, to claim that we somehow defamed him. Whatever, just how the legal system in Canada works. You can sue over anything, and it takes years for a judge to step in and say this is completely ridiculous. Anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. Have a good one.